Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, where we're going to go through a few news pieces, a creator spotlight, the various videos of the week, all of that and more, links and timestamps to everything down below. We're going to start off straight to the point with a few news pieces over here. Nothing too exciting, maybe a little bit, depends on what you care about, I guess. We have The Last of Us board game coming out from Themeborn. This is not new if you've been following crowdfunding. It was already on crowdfunding, it raised over $1 million, but it's coming out to retail now finally, so if you've been waiting anxiously to play this, Themeborn's Last of Us game is coming out. Still no news on whether CMON is ever going to do a Last of Us game. My guess is, I assume that the Teberu system Zombicide, as well as The Last of Us, I just assume they're never happening until someone tells me otherwise. Then we have Arcana Duo over here, an exciting new duo game. There's a whole trend of trying to make these duo games. I'd be skeptical, but honestly, sometimes they're pretty good. So I guess, except for that King of Tokyo duo, I've heard that's not good. If you've played King of Tokyo Duel and you did or did not like it, let me know in the comments down below which one of those two it is. And if you didn't play it, you can still let me know in the comments down below, but I don't actually know if that's as interesting. But either way, Arcana Duo over here, if you want to dive into a two-player version of Arcana, this is the opportunity to do so. Very popular game, never worked as well for me. I always enjoyed it, never loved it, but it has been a very large success, so I'm not surprised that they have a duo version coming out. We have ICV2. They have, over on ICV2, the website, they have Life of Reterra gets an award for advancement in forest conservation. I've never heard of this before, but there is apparently an award, an FSC Leadership Award, which I assume FSC is Forest Conservation. Like the F and the C are conservation, the S is just, there's an S in forest somewhere. Either way, not entirely sure, but they have a leadership award for basically some degree of forest conservation, I imagine, but the theme in Life of Reterra very much lends itself to that, so they've won an award for promoting that in some way, shape, or form, and plus all paper and wood is used in Life of Reterra is FSC certified, which FSC is a forest certification system. Shouldn't that be FCS? Forest System Certification? I feel that should be FCS and not FSC, but who am I? I don't make these, I don't make these rules or these acronyms, I just go by them. And by the way, while we're on the subject, it's definitely GIF, it's not GIF, it's clearly so obviously GIF. I know there's no such thing as a GIFix, Graphics integrated card, whatever it is, but the creator said it's a GIF, and besides, I think GIF is cooler and better, so GIF wins. But that's basically all we have for the news of Week in Review. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into our creator spotlight, where we take a look at an existing creator, talking about, you know, why I like them and all of that. And today, we are focusing on Jeff Kornberg over at the Dragon's Tomb. And partially inspired by his latest video, he was a little bit top of mind when I decided to do the creator spotlight. But in general, the point of the creator spotlight for me is to highlight creators, ideally that it's going to be tough because sometimes I'm going to focus on larger creators. Jamie Stegmaier, who I talked about last week, he has a ton of followers on a variety of platforms, from his company, to him as a designer, to him as a creator. He's a very well-known person in the space, obviously, but I do wonder how many people don't necessarily know that he does all of the things that he does. That I find more interesting. But in general, I mean, as much as I love the Dice Tower, they're probably not going to get a creator spotlight that much, or maybe at some point they will, who knows. But either way, the point is to kind of share the love. And Jeff Kornberg, the Dragon's Tomb, is definitely a creator that many people do know, but not everyone knows. And if you don't know who he is, you are probably missing out on a tremendous amount of board game comedy. His channel is a focus exclusively on giving you laughs. He's a very talented creator. He's very humorous. He currently seems to be on a bit of a bender of basically taking advantage of, and I say this in a good way, there's a lot of people who reach out to creators with like, hey, you know, you show our product on your platform. It's your audience feels like a natural fit for this blanket that we make. Hey, Mr. Board Game Audience. And you get a lot of that spam. And he seems to be leaning into that, taking advantage of, hey, you want to blind message me with complete ignorance of my audience? Fine, here's the results of what you get. He's been doing that with a few videos recently, which I've really appreciated because I get a lot of those emails, and it kind of feels like, again, going to the blanket thing, if I get an email from a creator who makes blankets and they're like, we feel this is a natural fit for your audience, what that really means is you're spamming me and you just hope that enough people will say yes, who are a fit, I guess. And he's saying yes, and then possibly having a bit more fun with it. Either way, check out a variety of his videos. You could check out his board game sex doll video. It is not pornographic in nature. You are good. All the appropriate parts are blurred out, but it's definitely funny. It's doing fairly well, 15,000 views in the first day. It's definitely an interesting video. We have the infantile Serial Snap game review from last week. We have the #1 expansions as well as the #1 board games, #1 ranked games, every board gamer's YouTuber number ranked game of all time. He has a lot of incredible videos that are all immensely humorous. I think the first video I found of his that really, I guess, exposed me to him, which was I'm trying to find it here. I don't know where it is. But it was a video about board game coins. He was covering coins. Board game standing desk, board game mechanical arm. Where was this one? I want to see if I could find it here. It was about board game coins, and it may or may not be here somewhere. It should be here somewhere. The Dragon's Tomb, no. I feel I'm going too far back. It was a video about metal coins in games, and I thought it was hilarious, and I think that was the first video I've watched on his channel. And because it was the first video I've watched on his channel, I was definitely confused for the first few minutes. I don't know if I'm going to find it here, because I'm going back too far, which no, Deluxe Board Game Metal Coins. Oh, here we go. Deluxe Board Game Metal Coins. You can check with that one. But either way, and then lastly, before we before we jump off to our next segment over here, I will say that he's also a delightful human being in real life. I really value it when someone is not just good at what they do, but they're also a good person. And he very much seems to be a good person. You never really know, but he seems to be a good person by all accounts. And that's going to be the Dragon's Tomb. Jeff Kornberg, Dragon's Tomb. Make sure to go ahead and drop a like and follow and subscribe. Not really a like and follow. Subscribe. Just subscribe. That's all I'm meant to say. I just got into influencer jargon for a second there. And that's basically what we have over here for our Creator Spotlight and our Week in Review, which brings us to our Creator Spotlight and our news, which brings us to the Week in Review part. The Week in Review, which we had a few videos going up. On Sunday, we had top 10 rules for crowdfunding. This is a video that I did covering my top 10 rules for crowdfunding. They're specifically from the stance of someone backing games. I got a few people asking me to do the creator side of things, which I might do, but it might not be the video you think it is, because I got some people asking for it, but I don't think they... We'll see. I may do a top 10 rules for creators. We'll see. But anyways, that was Sunday's video. On Monday, we had two back and not to back, going over a variety of crowdfunding campaigns. On Wednesday, was it? On Wednesday, we had Where Are They Now? Looking back at 5 years ago and a year ago, October, looking at the games I played that were new to me then and how they fared over time. On Saturday, on Thursday, we had a weekly live show. For the first time in way too long, we had a weekly live show. And then on Friday, we had upcoming crowdfunding for November. The upcoming crowdfunding campaigns for November. Not as many as there were the past months, but that's because we are leaning into that end of year slowdown. So the good news is you will have less things that are tempting you, which is always good, because that means money saved. Money not spent is money earned. That's money saved is money earned. A penny saved is a penny earned. As far as the games we covered this past week, we have a few. Starting off this past Saturday, we covered Tend. Oh my gosh, Tend. Tend is a conversation unto itself. You see, part of what I do now in these game look backs, I don't just tell you the games I covered, I try to give you a bit more of a conversational aspect that I don't always feel fits into a review, but does feel like it fits more into this, into me just talking about things. Tend is a complicated one, because you know what? Actually, I'm going to cover the rest of the games, and then I'll cover Tend last, because I think Tend takes the longest to talk about. We had a review for Tend going up on Saturday. We'll come back to that soon. We had a review for, not a review, a preview for Animalactraz. I can't say it. The zoo game with Zootopia for animals in prison. That's what the game was. This is a older video, as evidenced by the fact that Devin showed up. He filmed this video like a year ago, but the campaign was constantly pushed off, so you have a blast from the past with Devin filming a video for Animalactraz. That kind of worked. But either way, that was a preview video. I actually did play it way back. Way back. I don't remember a lot about it. I do remember thinking that it was pretty decent overall. I do think it might not be as much my personal jam as much, but I did think it was fun. Like, there's a lot of things you could do as far as the manipulation of prison stuff, but again, it's a game that I enjoyed, not a game that I loved. Then we have Super Fantasy Brawl. We did a gameplay on Tuesday for Super Fantasy Brawl, diving into Super Fantasy Brawl Reborn. I think I already mentioned this last week, but effectively Super Fantasy Brawl is a game that I like. Super Fantasy Brawl in general. Reborn to me is good, but it maintains all the things I like at Super Fantasy Brawl. Doesn't really do a lot that's new, at least not yet. There's small quality of life adjustments. I don't mind them, but it doesn't feel like a different game. It feels like the same game, for better or for worse. There were a lot of comments in the video about the art feeling not as good. I don't disagree with you there. I think the miniatures are great. The rules tweaks felt nice, but not better, but just decent rules tweaks overall. But I do agree that I like the visual aesthetic of the original game more, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the rest of the campaign. That was Tuesday. Later on Tuesday, we had a Soulshards. We had Animalactraz first, then Super Fantasy Brawl, then Soulshards. Soulshards was a preview. I didn't play that one, so I don't have a lot to say about that. And then on Thursday we had our live stream, and then we also had a Monumental unboxing. I have not played the African Empire stuff yet, but we do have content for a Monumental African Empires in case you want to see an unboxing around it, and I hope to dive into it as soon as I can, but it's not a priority for me. I've waited long enough. I'm not in a rush. I'll get to it when I get to it. And then later on Thursday, we had a review for Seven Wonders Duel. I really enjoy Seven Wonders Duel. No, not Seven Wonders Duel, Lord of the Rings Duel. I do this every single time. Lord of the Rings Duel. I really enjoy Lord of the Rings Duel. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it's a good implementation of the Seven Wonders Duel system. I still want both in my collection, especially when you consider the expansions for Seven Wonders Duel that add a lot more to the game. But as far as base games go, I think I'd recommend Lord of the Rings Duel over Seven Wonders Duel if we're talking about base game to base game alone. So I'm very excited to see if they come out with expansions and add to it. I really hope they do. I still think Seven Wonders Duel will have a place in my collection and heart for a long time, but we'll see. I don't know why I said heart. I don't love board games. I love the feeling board games give me. I love the experience I get, so I don't know. There's no heart there. I just like Seven Wonders Duel and Lord of the Rings Duel. That was as far as that goes, which means we can now talk a bit more about Tend. So, Tend is a game. Oh, Seven Wonders Duel, by the way, gave a 5 out of 5. I think it's fantastic. But for Tend is a game that I gave a 3.5. And it's a hard one for a variety of reasons, because it's a hard one to get into. So let's cover the few basics. Let's just do a quick recap of Tend. Tend is a game that I've played from IV Games, IV Studios. I liked it. I got, several games of it in with different groups, which is important because, especially considering how many people seem to love it and the fact that if you watch the video, both Meg and I came in at a 3.5, which would make me think that it's groupthink. But I've played it several different times, and I think at least half my plays, weren't even with her, and my experience didn't really change much from that. And I think that's important, because again, groupthink is real. The amount of times you have a group that enjoys a game and a different group that doesn't, and it's consistent to the groups, that happens a lot. For me, I didn't not enjoy Tend. I think Tend is fine, but Tend did not overall super impress me. It's a game that I always felt, I like the gameplay. The gameplay is good, but I always feel like I want to do more than the game will let me do. And so I feel constantly starved in the game, like I'm always trying to get to the point where I feel more satisfied with what I'm building, and I never fully get to that point, and when I'm just getting to that point, the game ends. And so far, across my plays, my scores haven't shifted dramatically. Now, to be fair, I have seen people score a lot higher than I have, so maybe I'm just not getting it, which is entirely possible. At the end of the day, my rating reflects my opinion of the game based on my experience of the game, and so even though I've seen people score like easily 50 to 75 points more than me in games, it could just be I'm just not getting the strategy, or at least not getting it well enough. But I've tried different approaches, I've tried different things, and I always feel like I enjoyed myself, but that I didn't get as much done as I want. Now, the tricky part here, the biggest tricky part, and I don't love this at all. I really don't. Like, on a personal level, I do not love this. Tend is not my least favorite. It's a complicated, because when I'm thinking of my least favorite IV Games game, obviously Mythic Mission is going to be the highest, then there's going to be Brink, Moonrakers falls nice in the middle, along with Fractured Sky, both those are really good, but then Veiled Fate is the one that I'm always happy to play Veiled Fate, but I don't feel the rush to play Veiled Fate. Veiled Fate's an okay game that I enjoy. Tend is complicated, because I think I want to play Tend more, but I like Veiled Fate more, if that makes sense. And that goes hand in hand with the fact that I feel I haven't mastered Tend. But the thing I don't love the most is the fact that this was an IV Games game, IV Studio game, that I didn't go in for their press release. And I don't love that. Because for me, the fact that one of my least favorite IV Games game is one that I didn't go in for the press release, it makes me feel like there's definitely an image aspect there of like, oh, congratulations, if they bring you in, you rate their games highly and you love them. If they don't bring you in, you don't like their games as much. Which is very possible. Not from any sense of, not from any actual sense of that, but it could be that going into the studio and playing the game with friends and having that experience can boost your experience of a game. Not once will I ever tell you I like a game more than I do. I will never I will never do that. It's just not worth it. I have to play these games. I have to put them on my shelf. I tell you what's being added to my collection. I will never tell you I like a game more than I do. But can it be that experiences contribute to things? Absolutely it can. I think that had I gone in for Tend, is it possible that the overall experience would have been elevated? Maybe. I don't know. That's the tricky part. I just don't know ultimately at the end of the day, and I'll never really know until I go to one of these studio, whenever these companies bring creators in. Until I go to one and actively don't like the game, I don't know how it will play out. Generally, I've liked the games. To various degrees, sure, but generally I've liked the games. I've yet to find myself in a situation where I didn't actually enjoy the game that I went in for. Now again, to be fair, I enjoyed Tend. There's a difference between enjoying something and then really enjoying it. Tend was a fine game that I still kind of want to approach again, but I just don't feel the need to continue to push myself for it. But it is a complicated one, specifically because I don't love the fact that one of my less liked IV Studios games was the one that I didn't go in for. I would rather have gone in for it and then reviewed it as hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. I acknowledge the image perception that it can cause, and it is what it is, unfortunately. Anyways, that is the little bit of a conversational aspect around Tend. But past that, moving on from there, we're going to go on to today. Today, as far as today's videos. Today, we're going to have a review for Monkey Palace going up, as well as a preview for Draconis RPG, which is the dragon-friendly RPG over on Crowdfunding, over on Kickstarter. And as far as next week we'll have games leaving the collection video. So we'll have... did I cover the fact we have upcoming? I did. Next week we'll have the games leaving the collection video for the month of October, as well as a video on the Bamboo Lab printer accessories. I'm going to be going over a bunch of accessories that I've used and benefited from with my Bamboo printer, in case you are someone who's also on that 3D printing journey. If you don't like 3D printing, this may not be a video for you. You can safely skip it. But if you do like 3D printing, more 3D printing videos will pop up here and there. They're going to be infrequent. Maybe it'll be one video a month, or maybe even less, or maybe it'll show up in deluxification videos. But I think it is fun to talk about this stuff because people who do like it are really into it. And that's basically what we have for next week, and then that brings us to the games on the table, or the games on the couch. As far as the games on the couch, we have Neon Rain, which I hope to be tabling this week. It just showed up, and I played this in the prototype phase way back when. Hope to dive into it again shortly. We have Istanbul, which I've just been looking at recently on the shelf. It's an older game, but it's one of my favorites, and I really want to get this tabled. I've just been looking at it and thinking that I want to table it. That's all that's been happening. We have Snails, which I was hoping to play like 4 or 5 weeks ago. It didn't happen, and I'm hoping to table it this weekend. We'll see if it does. I still need to read the rules for it, which is a slight blocker. And then lastly, we have Western Legend Stories, which I think I actually talked about last week, but since last week, I've actually played half a game. I played the starting tutorial-ish aspect of it, and I want to dive into it more because that kind of, it whet my appetite for more of this game. I think this is basically Western Legends meets, you know, a legacy game like Ticket to Ride Legends of the West, or that kind of situation. Very intrigued by it so far. I need to dive into it fully. Right now, I would say, don't consider this a rating, just consider this I currently really want to play through the 2 scenarios in this box. That doesn't mean I like it yet, but I really want, based on my half a play of the tutorial, I really want to play more of it. And that is what we have. That is your news and week in review. Until next time, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you have an excellent weekend, and as always, I hope you have a good one.